Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, and welcome to my second post on imaginary boyfriends. In this post, I will read some of my fiction, and because it's somehow more embarrassing to read fiction than it is to read nonfiction, I'm wearing a mask today to feel more comfortable. In fiction, you try to say things that you can't just ordinarily say, and that's why it's a little bit embarrassing. I use a relationship with an imaginary boyfriend to motivate creation of fiction. And the drawback of this process is that sometimes my imaginary boyfriend dumps me. Although I am married, these breakups can be absolutely devastating. Right now, my imaginary boyfriend is considering to move to California to live with a very rich woman. Right after his wife died, I said, "It's too soon," when he wanted me to stay with him. But the rich woman was the real reason I was reluctant to stay. He would live rent-free in her big house, have the use of a nice car or 3. He could go surfing every day, and the rich woman would let him have affairs with disposable younger women. Rich women like her enjoy watching their man burn up and reject a stupid young woman. It is comforting to watch your money win out over youth. It would be a sweet life in California for him. The drawback is that the rich woman is rather skinny, neurotic, alcoholic, arrogant, stupid, mean, and he's never liked her much. She also still has some teenagers at home, but she is smitten and thinks him elegant. Decisions. He just broke an expensive veneer on his tooth and is rather anxious about money because he took on a substantial amount of debt to get his businesses running, and although he can see the light at the end of the tunnel, he is afraid to leave those businesses behind for his son to manage because an economic contraction could wreak havoc on everything he had built up. On the other hand, the rich woman offered to solve some short-term cash flow problems. Little does he know that after moving out to California to live with the rich woman, there will be a big earthquake and a fire, and he will be tasked with trying to rescue her and her kids. Oh, this is itchy. This is not a task he will relish. She dies in a stupid panic, and he hides from the flames in a neighbor's swimming pool, later hitchhiking away from the scene of the disaster. Meanwhile, my character, was virtually homeless while hiding from the Inquisition. As he walked away from the flames, he had a vision of himself carrying a crown for a girl underground. Me. He becomes a born-again Christian after his businesses crumble and asks me to marry him. To die by your side, well, the pleasure would be all mine, he said. I think he's hiding ugly secrets while wearing his mistakes like a beauty pageant tiara. So I say no. But we take a trip together, and I am surprised to watch him wallow in sorrow over the loss of his wife 2 years earlier. He hadn't mourned very much when she was dying, but from beyond the grave she talks to him. Far more than I do, but from my perspective he has an abnormal need for chit-chat. I enjoy silence. We visited the house by the sea in which his wife had lived before she died, and he confessed to things he'd never told anyone. He described how, when he first visited his wife's family in Texas, he'd taken off on a road trip during which he'd had sex with a male prostitute. It was a first, and he said he did it because he was curious and it didn't feel like cheating. He said he'd done the same thing on our trip when I'd fallen ill with a urinary tract infection. He said he sometimes imagined that I was a man, but it didn't mean that he was gay. He still liked me the way I was. I was confused, but maybe that was how he liked me to be, confused and at a disadvantage. So that's an outline for a story, and to turn it into a real story, I would flesh it out with dialogue and action, using the songs I posted in the blog post for emotional inspiration. This is what I did in the following bit. Put on your black dress. That was the last thing he said before he left. Put on your black dress. It was the short, tight one that only looked classy in the right environment. He'd said that in the early days, and the words were soft and inviting. This time the words were hard. If the black dress wasn't meant for him, put on your black dress was meant to be an insult. I made a mistake on a fire escape in San Francisco, and nothing has been the same since. I worked my way back into his arms in a hallway in LA, but it was work and it didn't last. He left. My fish swam away, still diving in for the big one. A big, shiny pearl, and I'm not it. I touched the necklace we bought together in Sicily, a simple black pearl on a silver chain. I said I didn't want it, but he insisted. No, it suits you, he said. Put on your black dress. I said to myself, float on your back. That is where I am now, just floating, drifting out to sea like a dead animal, white belly up in the sun. I prefer the moon because I like cold things, but he likes heat. He burned my skin away, and a little black dress offers little protection from what lies ahead. I was wearing my black dress at a party when the acid hit my face. It was thrown from a water bottle by a young man who'd been paid by someone on the dark web. The searing pain didn't hit immediately, but when it did, I knew I'd never see again. In the hospital, my head swelled up like a watermelon, and I was told that my eyes would be permanently disfigured, but the rest of my face was going to be okay. Somehow, the heartache from my lover's departure made this pain dull and almost comical in comparison. He'd immunized me, perhaps. I decided that I would wear a mask, like Zorro. My God, he said when he saw me. Is it that bad? I asked. No, you are still beautiful. I love the blindfold. Very kinky, he said. When he kissed me, it was all-encompassing. It was all going to be okay. Let's go out, he said. Put on your black dress. This time, his words were soft and inviting. But at dinner, I fumbled while searching for my water glass. I feel responsible for this, he said. That's ridiculous, I said. I was the one who put your name in the paper and caused this to happen, he said. Maybe I should be more careful about what I say about politics, I replied. Ugly times we are living in, he mumbled. I tilted my head down, thinking about my face. I wished he'd chosen other words. He'd put lipstick on me and told me that I looked lovely, but I couldn't believe it. The roughness of my skin told me the truth. You can't stay here, he said. There's a group home, I said. No, you're coming with me, he said. They'll never grant a visa to a blind woman. They'll have to if you are my wife. I couldn't breathe, agony and ecstasy all wrapped up in one. It has been 10 months since we got married and moved to Sicily, and he is loud. When he eats, when he breathes, when he takes a shit every morning. Every grunt, crunch, snort, and groan comprises the texture of my life. If I could only find a pair of headphones that canceled out the sounds he makes, I could possibly be happy. He used to take me out, but now all we ever do is sit around the breakfast table while he rustles the newspaper loudly and tells me about the latest political developments. My God, can he talk? He just goes on and on. No reaction required from me. Nothing I could say or sign could stop the avalanche of words and snorts and chomping, smacking, slurping noises. I want to throw things at the source of these noises, but it also is the source of my only pleasure in this prison that I call my room. When he comes inside me, it's the only time I don't care about the noise or the smells, the refuse of ourselves. Apparently, politics on the mainland are taking a hard swing to the left, but we haven't seen any evidence of that on Sicily, my island prison. I love to feel the sun and the surf on my skin, but I hate following him around and hearing him describe scenes I will never see. I'd rather spend the day with a rose bush. They smell better, they are softer, and less loud. He started meeting up with a neighbor woman who is teaching him Italian. At first I wasn't worried because he told me that she was plain and stupid, but as time went by, I heard her laugh outside our front door more and more often, and soon he stopped talking about her altogether. It is a full moon tonight, he said, running his fingers through his hair. His hair is so loud. I wish I could see that, I said. I'm going out, he said. With her? I asked. I'm just going out. That night, he didn't come home until morning. He acted like nothing was unusual about it. I couldn't sleep and raided his liquor supply, finally disappearing into a dream that he had pushed me off the roof, and that the last thing I saw was the full moon staring down at me as my life faded away. In my dreams, I could see him walking away, and he was always walking away. I used to like it like that. It was the reason I had fallen for him so long ago. It's not too soon, he had said to me shortly after we'd met. It's not too soon at all. You might as well be dead if you're afraid to fall. I know her, I said, referring to a rich woman we'd met earlier in the day. I knew that they had once been lovers. I knew that he was always walking away. But I followed him anyways. Thinking about her turned my stomach back in those days. It made him so ugly. Tonight, he's out running around with her, and I can't get out of this house. Blind in love, that is what I was. And now I'm just blind. I heard her come in last night, I said. It was a full moon, he replied. I hate the moon. Have you no shame? He didn't respond. Life in the group home would have been better. I never should have married you. You'd never have seen half of the things I've shown you, he replied. I'm blind. I wouldn't have been so lonely. I hate being your little mascot, your way of telling everyone what a wonderful, charitable man you are when you are anything but. It's not my fault that you aren't outgoing, he said. You could have gone out to meet the groups I suggested. I can't even read, I said. That's not my fault. Nothing is ever your fault, I said. I'm going out, he snapped. I threw a vase at him and missed. He walked out the door. I wasn't sure what was below our balcony. I only knew that I wanted out of my prison. I grabbed a candlestick holder and smashed the glass in the sliding door, climbed up onto the railing and jumped over the edge. My whole brain felt like it was buzzing, and I didn't care if I lived or died. I fell onto what must have been the awning of our downstairs neighbor and flopped off of it onto a person below. I didn't know who it was until much later. What happened? Asked the doctor. I wanted to leave. I can't live like this anymore, I said. I have no one to talk to. I can't go out. I can't read. I can't even speak the language properly. How long have you been blind? He asked. 2 years. There is a test program involving electronic eyes. They are only appropriate for people with an intact retina. You are an ideal candidate since only the front half of your eye is burned away. Would you like to enroll? When I first opened my beautiful golden robot eyes, the first person I wanted to see was my husband. He hadn't tried to find me, and I wanted to know why. I found him lying in the gutter, surrounded by filth, and collecting change from locals. The tourists had all left during the last political upheaval, and everyone ignored him. He was old, so old and thin, and there was something wrong with his eyes. What happened to you? You fell on me. I caught you, he said. I fell on you? When you jumped out of the window, you fell on me and knocked me out. I only remember waking up and staring at the sun. It must have been hours or minutes. I don't know. Why didn't they tell me you were hurt? They didn't know. I got up and walked away before the ambulance came. I was in shock. I went out and got drunk and passed out. My eyes were itchy, and I drank more when I got home. When I woke up, they were crusted shut. I'd lost my phone when you fell on me, and I was too embarrassed to ask the neighbor for help. So I just tried washing my eyes out with water, but they kept getting worse. They couldn't save them. When the rent didn't get paid, Why didn't the bank help you? I asked. There was a merger and the bank changed owners, he said. I don't understand, I said. Without an identification, they turned me away. My God, nobody helped you? I asked. No. What about her, the woman you'd been seeing? She went back to the mainland when the politics shifted, he said. I helped him stand up and held his tear-streaked face in my hands. What happened? I said I was super connected, he said. There was something crazed in his eyes. What? I said I was super connected, that I knew lots of important people. I lost my mind. You didn't try to call me or find me? My third broken window, hair full of glass, my clothes in the hallway, just a sheet on my back, he said, half delirious. I asked if you had called and they said no, I said, trying to get him to come back to reality. The nurse asked me, are you super connected now? He was crying and I was holding him. It's a full golden harvest moon tonight, and I can see us home, I said to him. How? He asked, coming back to himself. I have new robot eyes, big and golden. I think they're quite pretty. I love the moon, he said. I know you do, I answered. Tonight the moon is low and red, eclipsed by the shadow of the earth, I said. I'd like to see that, he said. It breaks my heart, I said. Why? Because I hate this moon, I said. Why? He asked. Because it is you. Me? Why me? He asked. You only shine brightly when I can't see you. You light up when your old girlfriends come by. I only ever see a low, sleepy red moon. That's not true. I'm just being friendly. It is stupid, I know. I was always so jealous. You are just jealous of how brightly I shine when you can't see me, but when you do see me, you eclipse me, he said. It is always my fault. Everything is always my fault, I said. My, how the tables had turned. You are the one who brought up the moon, he said, because I want to sing a song for you. A song? Here, listen. Low red moon, how can you sleep like a baby? Sleep like a baby. 'Cause you shine so different on another. You shine different on another. Strange moon, strange land, I think you are a strange man. You lied to me when I was young, and I was young. Now I've got strong arms for me. And I said, it belongs to me. It belongs to me. He lied me on a bed of roses. I'll never see myself the way you see me, he said. You can't see. You never could, I said. After all of this time, you still don't trust me? Not for a minute, I said. But I made you comfortable, he said. You made me a million heartaches, I said. It isn't my fault that you are so jealous, he said. I hate you and always will, I said. I know, he sighed. He's always outside in the garden, touching plants, pulling out weeds, smelling things, I said to the woman who'd come to inspect our home situation. My husband had lost so much weight that a visit was required. He's not eating enough, she said. No, he's not, I said. What does he like to eat? She asked me. Simple things, but he never eats enough. Why is there a bed made up under the stairs? She asked me. He says that he likes feeling enclosed. He says it is quieter there, I said. Do you snore? She asked me. No, but he says that he's become ultra-sensitive to even the smallest noises, I said. I don't know what to say, she said. I think it hurts him when I ask him to stay, because he doesn't want to stay with me anymore. I'm not enough. He says it isn't that, but... I stopped. He walked in and took off his hat, sightless eyes on an old, sunburnt face. We've made some sandwiches, I said. Would you sit with us for a bit? No, thank you. I'm not very hungry, he said. I'd just like to lie down for a while in the shade. I followed him, and he recoiled when I touched him. I started to cry silently. Why? I asked. I can't see the moon, he said. There is no moon today. Why won't you come back to us? I can't. The moon is not worth seeing. I hate the stupid moon, I said. I love you and I love the moon, he said. You are both still alive in my memories, and that is where I want to stay. But I'm still here, I said. It's not time for you to go, he said. He reached out to touch me and said, I crawled on the belly of God. I fell on my face in love with you. I've grown as old as the sea. I'll sleep with the fishes soon. Stay, I whispered. I can't stay forever, he said. You can be here now, I said. If I leave slowly, it will be easier for you. Everything is growing dimmer for me every day. Stay today. Be here with me now, I said. He was silent. You are the only one who knows me. You know the shape my breath will take before I let it out, I said. He looked past me. You hold yourself apart and keep yourself homeless and heartless and hard. You act like there's nothing, and nothing means no one who cares, I said. It's easier that way, he replied. Can't you see that I've already gone? Just let me go. Stay, I said. Kiss me, he said. It was a small concession. I've loved you hundreds of thousands of years, I said. I used to say that to you, and it's still true, he said. The end. You might notice the inspiration from Belly's album Star, and I think I could splice these pieces together and fit them into a book I'm working on called A Frozen New World. It's a sequel to a book I've already written called A Flaming New World. It's still unpublished. But for more finished work, I recommend my collection of novelettes. It has a similar style to this, whereas the novels I've published have a different style. They're more bizarre and satirical and humorous. So I hope this sparked your interest and that you take a look at the fiction I've written and continue watching my videos. There will be a mix of commentary on social issues, on science, and some finished works of fiction. Thanks for watching. Until next time.